It's been the most incredible adventure. It's been a lot harder than Mount Everest base camp. It's just too steep. Tougher climb, tougher mountain, tougher conditions. Hopefully we'll make it up there. Alright, man. After finding some differences in the taste of wines at 18,000 feet in the Himalayas, I couldn't resist the temptation of a tasting on the peak of Kilimanjaro. So I picked up samples of Qatar's business class wine list at the airport in Tanzania and got ready for another adventure. I met up with my guide Hubert and we carefully checked all the climbing equipment together. And in the morning, we set off to the foot of the mountain and began the 7-day climb, never too sure of what was going to happen next. Just been battered by the weather. We had 3 days of non-stop rain. It was more like a monsoon. Everything got fully soaked. Then we had the wind. Yeah, the tents almost blew over. Very cold at night. And then we had some steep sections as well. There were some really steep sections. That barranca wall is just like this. Well, one of the guys got sick. He got a combination of altitude sickness and hypothermia, and so he had to be rescued. So that was pretty intense. The wine is looking okay. The wine is looking pretty good. It's in the bag here. Otherwise, we're leaving tonight and we're going for the summit. We leave at midnight, headlamp on, and 8 hours later, hopefully we're gonna be having breakfast of champions, a nice little glass of champagne at 19,850 feet, but maybe not. The three of us climbed all night in the snow and finally arrived at the summit to a beautiful sunrise. We couldn't stay on the summit for very long, so I found a location to do the wine tasting and we started unpacking the bottles. Qatar Airways is one of the world's only 5-star airlines, and we go to enormous lengths on our wine program to make sure that we can offer passengers the very best wines possible. We got started with a beautiful rosé champagne from Taittinger, intrigued to see if the sparkling wine would foam uncontrollably like it did at Everest. Yeah, you see, that's not normal. I can tell you that that's not normal. I mean, whoa. It's ridiculous though now. Yeah, we've got to let that go down a little bit. So it seems like there's definitive proof that there's definitely a difference in the effervescence the higher in altitude you go. Anyway, well, cheers. Let's cheers, have a look. All three of the Qatar champagnes that we tasted foamed like crazy, be it Krug, Bilika Salmon or Taittinger. But the actual taste and aroma didn't really change. In fact, when we cracked into the Bilika, it tasted even better than on the ground. But maybe we were just excited to have some champagne after the climb. Oh, that smells just fantastic, actually. Oh, the Bilika is outstanding. The Bilika is a hit. Tastes just as good up here as it does down on the ground. Fantastic, I love it. We only had time to taste 2 of our white wines, so we started with one of South Africa's finest, a Chardonnay from Hamilton Russell, a beautiful winery in the Walker Bay area that has ranked in Wine Spectator's top 100 wines of the world. Oh, it smells fantastic as well. Peaches, some buttery notes. Can't believe how good these wines smell for being up here.
And I like this one.
Although Hubert loved the South African Chardonnay, I was sure he'd prefer the slight sweetness of the next wine from the majestic Mosel Valley in Germany, home to some of the very best Riesling. It's a Riesling from a great producer, Selbach Oster. Love this winery. A Spätlese late harvest. So have a sniff of this and a little sip and you tell me.
Well, that's just first class, man.
Man, this is so sweet, man.
It is sweet. You like it?
Man, everyone likes sweet, but leave my wine is dry, man.
The altitude hadn't affected either of the white wines. Both of them had plenty of aromatic intensity. This was interesting because in an aircraft at 35,000 feet, wines don't tend to have the same strength of aroma. But this is partly because the air in a pressurized cabin is quite dry, and this lack of humidity affects your sense of smell, especially on long-haul flights.
We need some red wine to warm us up, man.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so we got two fantastic reds here. First one is one of my favorite chateaus in the world. It's called Smith-O-Lafitte.
Smith-O-Lafitte is one of the icon cru classe of the Pessac-Léognan appellation just south of the city of Bordeaux.
Robert Parker gave this wine 100 points in the 2009 vintage. But for me, I think that Smith-O-Lafitte transcends all properties. It's one of my personal favorites, and I'm gonna give it 101 points.
Yeah.
The Smith was a hard act to follow, but if there was a contender from the New World, it would be the Don Maximiano from Errázuriz in Chile, a wine that has won numerous blind tasting competitions against the most revered wines from France. And it was stunning. The altitude and the temperature did make it taste a bit more tannic, but the intensity and concentration of flavors was gorgeous.
It's got some beautiful blackberry notes and some minty notes, and what do you think?
Stop about blackberry things, man. You have to get out of here, man.
We were only supposed to be on the summit for half an hour and we were already running late, so there was just time for a quick taste of our sweet wines and port.
This is one of our sweet wines on board. It's a delicious Tokai, and it's full of lovely honey, marmalade, orange picot notes. Cheers, you're gonna go crazy for this one. I think that's the star of the show so far.
The taste and stuff.
That's absolutely gorgeous.
The wines just kept getting better and better, and the last wine, a favourite for so many of Qatar's passengers, was a staggering tawny port that was 40 years old.
That tastes just as good up here as it does on the ground. It does seem to be not quite so sweet, in fact, up here. It seems to be a little drier, but it's really fascinating. There are some differences, definitely. Red wines tend to taste more tannic. The champagnes, they seem to foam much more. The sweeter wines tend to taste a little bit drier as well.
It was time to quickly pack up and head back down the mountain, but not before having a small celebration to wrap up this amazing adventure.
Kilimanjaro, everybody stand up.